What's up guys, and welcome to the 24th tutorial in my PHP backend. So in this tutorial we're going to look at implementing the request interface that we looked at in the previous tutorial. So let's create a new folder. I'm going to call it message. And in this folder I'm going to create a new PHP class, and I'm going to call it HTTP message. And I'm going to implement the interface that we looked at, so the PSR request interface. And like this, and I'm going to take this out and include a use statement instead. So the request interface like this. And I'm also going to create a namespace for this file, which will be app and then message. So my code editor gave me some suggestions that I need to implement the methods, and so I'm just going to go and accept all of that. If you don't have that option, you need to look in your request interface and your message interface and copy all those in here manually. So this is also one of the reasons that I like PHP Storms, because it kind of helps you with all that. And also what's kind of nice, it also copies in all of the comments from the interfaces. And a lot of this stuff, there's like a lot of functions that I need to implement, and also it's a bit scary maybe to you because you don't know what it's all about, and frankly I don't either at this point. I just know that if I need to implement all of them, I'll probably go through the comments here and read them and see what they're about. And we're gonna use like a handful of these to start with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a constructor for the class. And in this constructor, I'm going to take 4 arguments, I think. So I'm going to need the method. And also I'm going to need the URI. And I'm going to need the body and the headers. And then I'll basically just take all of these and put them in here. So method, URI, body, and headers. Right, and then I'm going to assign them to the local class. So this dot method equals the method, and this URI is equal to the URI. Okay, and so this class should be immutable. So I don't want to be able to change these as soon as I instantiate it. So I'm not going to create any getters or setters for this, because these are not going to change as soon as I instantiate it. And also, I'm not going to implement all the functions immediately. I'm going to wait with some of them until basically I need them. So on the ones that I don't need at the moment, I'm just going to throw an exception that is not implemented. So for example, if I try to use the get protocol version, it's going to throw an exception that is not implemented. And that is a nice way for you to show that you don't hide any errors. So you still wanna get a warning if you try to use it instead of like hiding that it's not implemented. Some of these I can implement, for example this one, the headers. And also has header. I'm not going to implement this now, might need it later. And this one as well, just getting one header. I'm probably going to use this for checking the content type later. This one I don't think I'll need, not this one either. This one I'm going to need, so I'm just going to return the body variable that I said previously. And this one I'm going to need as well. This is the method, the HTTP method, so get, put, post, delete. And here I'm going to return the method that I set previously. The same goes for the URI. All right, so now we have implemented some of the interface functions that we're going to need. I'm going to copy this because I'm going to need it later. And what we want to do is that we want to go to the index file in the public folder. And instead of passing stuff in here, we got to build one of these response objects instead. So I'm going to put a comment there so I remember what stuff it needs. So I'm going to create a new instance of the class. So my request is going to be new, and then my HTTP message. And you can also see that this is why you need namespaces, because I created a class called HTTP message. And I think that that is the actual name for, no, actually it was message interface. But if they had the same name, I would run into problems when I instantiate them because they would be having the same name. So that's why I have namespaces. But that is not a problem to us at the moment. So I'm going to create a new instance from the app message. And in here it needs the method, URI, body, and headers. So these parameters here. And the method I can get as previously from the request method header. And the URI I get from here. And then it needs the body, which is kind of a tricky thing, because if you want to get the body of, we're going to be posting raw data, and this is one of the things that you get a little bit confused about, because it says like file get contents, and it'll basically, I think it's going to return a stream in a way, and then you collect the body in this way. And this is the same kind of interface you have when writing to files and stuff. But just go with it for now, and eventually as you learn PHP, you're going to be clear to you why it looks like this. And then also we're going to need the headers later, but I'm just going to pass in null for now because it'll be more easy for us at the moment. Alright, so I created a interface of this class, so I'm just going to take this and pass it in instead of all this, like this. And now I want to go to the router and fix it so it works there as well. So in here we instead of taking these parameters, we need to take a request interface. And now I'm using the interface and not the HTTP message because I don't want to bound myself to using the HTTP message implementation. I just want to have the interface specified for me. So I'm going to go with the name for the request interface, which is request interface. And you can see that it's from the PSR HTTP message namespace. And I'm going to call it request. And also, when I did it auto-completed the importing up here for me. So if your IDE doesn't do that for you, you need to write it down here in order to make it work. All right, so I typed it to the request interface. Now I need to collect the URL and the method. And the URL I can get from the request object. And it's called get URI, if you remembered the implementation that I did. So that takes care of the URL that we had previously, and also we need to collect the HTTP method. And we can do that by using request get method function, which I also implemented. And we need it here as well. All right, so this should be it. And we also need to pass along the request object to the actions, so we can use it in the controllers as well. We can do it by doing like this. We're going to wrap it in an array like this, and then in here we going to put the request object like this. And now we need to modify all of the routes as well. So let's start here. So all of these are going to take this request object that we defined, the request interface, like this. And if they have other kind of get variables that we have, for example, when you get in color by ID, then you just put it in the first slot and then it'll automatically complete it for the other ones as well. And that's what I did with the array here. So he's going to fill them in. So you get the request object as the first parameter. So the last thing we need to do is that we need to run composer dump autoload, because we created a new namespace here and a new class in that namespace. So we need to include it in the autoload like this. And now let's see if it runs. So let's see if we can implement this route first also, so we have something good to work with. So I'm gonna do like this. So we can have the color and then the color by ID. So get all colors and get color by ID, I think it was called. Yes, it was. All right, so let's try that. Oh, oops, it didn't found it. I think it needs API color. All right, so there we go. So as you can see, it works, and the important thing is that we're using an established standard for the request interface. And we can also verify that by dumping the object here and see what it looks like. So you can see I have the HTTP message in here, which is kind of nice. We're just using the interface, but we have everything that we probably gonna need since it's an established standard. We can verify it by checking the other route as well. So we get the ID, Let's see if that works. So let's var dump the request to begin with, and we can do color 1. So you get the same stuff, and also make sure that you get the parameters in here. And it works. So it's a 1 in there, which is kind of nice because now we're not bound to having the parameters at the end. We could have endpoints with multiple stuff that we illustrated before, where we have some hard-coded value in between some variables. So thank you guys for watching, and hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.